Hey everybody, this is Blue. Radical Magical Thought. That is me opening myself up to different forms of magic, how to apply magic differently into my magical life. So, open up the floodgates. You see, I did a video talking about how I need to be more open into my spirituality. Well, I decided that I needed to be more open to the magical realm after thinking about chaos magic and specifically sigil magic. You see, in sigil magic, two people could be using the same words to create a sigil for the same specific result. Now, because the sigil is taking, in many forms, taking the letters from the words from your incantation or your desire and putting them somehow into a circle to create your sigil, each sigil is unique. No two people are going to put the letters in the same exact spot or write them so the same exact size. So each sigil is unique. So that changes everything, because although we have two very unique sigils, they can both have positive results. No one of those two is better than the other. They were created by and with purpose. And so I was just thinking about the old adage, 6 plus 3 equals 9. Well, so does 5 plus 4, or 2 plus 7, or 1 plus 8, 0 plus 9. There are more than one way to do everything. And so I was thinking how magic then could be on a person-by-person basis, because what works for you, 6 plus 3, might not work for me. I might be a 2 plus 7 person. How I do magic to get the results I want could be radically different from you. And so when you think about that, you discover that you need to think differently and think about all of the possibilities out there. Every form of magic out there could be useful in a manner. Now, there are rules to magic, and you need to always keep them in mind. Magic is fickle, and so we have to be careful with our experimentation that something that we create has some form of protection, something that will make sure that we don't screw up big time. So that's very important. You see, I have come to the realization that there is active and passive magic. Now, what most of us do is passive magic. We do a ritual. We cast a spell where we are reciting an incantation. We end up, with so mote it be. Okay. Well, what about active magic? Well, active magic does exist. Now, we can never do what Harry Potter does, grab our wand, throw it in the air, and cast forth a fireball. That we know we can't do. But many of us have been taught that if we enter an area where we're feeling drained, that we can create a sphere of white energy around us, and that this sphere of energy will be a shield to protect us. In fact, many of us were taught to put our to extend 2 fingers from each hand, put them at our heart, and then slowly move those fingers away till they're fully extended away from us as a practice in creating that white ball of energy. That is active magic, because magic is the manipulation of energy to achieve a desired result. So, I am now opening myself to doing more active magic. And, it's sad to say, when I was thinking about all this stuff, is that some of the things I used to make fun of when I was younger could actually be practical. Now, I'm thinking of the Power Rangers, okay? Now, do you remember how they called their Zords? They would get into a stance and they would move their hands around in a certain manner while they're saying Tiger, Lily, something, something, Zord, and it would come forth. Well, maybe that's a form of magic. Okay. But the more important one that I was thinking of is Avatar: The Last Airbender, because they used forms of martial arts with their bending. They were using their bodies to become focal points for energy. They were shaping it, and in their mind visualizing it, and then sending it forth. Well, maybe there's something to it. Now, some of us make fun of the old-fashioned, dancing around the fire and all that, during, I forget what they were called, but for Native American events. But maybe there's something about doing a specific dance for a specific result. So maybe all of this is about active spellcasting, where we are doing a specific dance that will help us channel some energy into us as we shape it and send it forth. So I have to think about that as something I will try. Now, another weird thought, I keep saying that how we can't do fireballs, but what if we could? Because I'm actually thinking there is a way to do this. You see, we can't physically manifest a shard of ice to throw at a target. But what are the attributes of ice? What I'm saying is we could possibly cast ethereal elemental attacks. Okay. Take water. What is the attribute of water for many people? Well, the water is from the West, and that is emotion. So maybe the person you are targeting is going through a hard time emotionally, and so you work it out in your head, a ball of water, and you are trying to visualize it. You're trying to get the energy raised up, shaped, condensed, and then you can shoot it out, like how they do it on Dragon Ball Z, extending both hands and treating it like a cannon and shooting this visualized ethereal ball of water at the person. So then you have the ball of water hitting them, and maybe that will, since it has the attributes of water, it will affect them the way water should. Maybe we can get them out of an emotional state. That is something I've been thinking about. Another thing I was thinking of, back in my old role-playing days, I used to play Roll Master, and they had 3 realms of magic. And I'm just trying to think about this, and I visualize that there's some validity to this. I'm imagining that there were a lot of people that were into magic and witchcraft that helped create these old-fashioned fantasy role-playing games. So we have mentalism. This is your personal energy, what you can get by focusing your mind to achieving your goal. Then there's channeling. Well, if you are a practitioner that believes in certain god or gods, goddesses, even demigods and all that, you can, try to connect with them, do your incantation, focusing on them, getting the energy, feeling that you are getting the energy from your god or deity. Then you can picture it, focus it, and send it out. You have just received energy from your deity and thus channeling. The last one was essence, and this is utilizing the energy around you. Kind of like the Force from Star Wars, where everything has some form of energy. And so in using essence, you are trying to absorb the energy around you and picturing it and sending it out. That is what most of us do for magic now. I'm going to do a lot more research on egregores and servitors creation, because there are so many concepts in doing this. I need to find out which one would work best. In theory, I can't believe that I'm saying this, but I have always been a big fan of Star Wars, and so I've done a lot of the reading about the Jedi, the Sith, the Force, and all these abilities. And they have little pieces of documentation talking about the orders and all that, and I'm kind of thinking, there's something good about this, and maybe I can add that to my spirituality and magic, because in a lot of the videos that I have watched about the Sith, they talk about SIF Magic, and that is basically essence magic. That is basic magic. So when they're talking about doing force sorcery, they're just saying they're using the force to cast spells. And so I'm looking into a little bit how that was structured, and who knows, maybe George Lucas delved into a little bit of the pagan arts, witchcraft arts, to create the magic, the force in Star Wars. Because then I'm also looking at magic in the sense that there's no more left-handed magic or right-handed magic. Magic. It's just that. Magic. See, I'm saying that because, it's intent. It's about perception. So, what I do and what you do in magic could be very different. If we try to cast similar spells and they are what some people view malicious, does that make us evil? No. Maybe, back, during World War II, casting a heart attack spell on Adolf Hitler might have ended the war a year earlier, and that would have, saved so many lives if we could have ended World War II earlier. But so many people would be going, but causing somebody a heart attack is evil. Now, it depends on why you are doing it. So I'm no longer going to be going left-handed, right-handed magic, because magic is just magic. Again, I want to stress, because some of these things I am going to be experimenting on are going to be, could be dangerous. So I have to research a lot of the spell defenses, you know, certain things that you should do or shouldn't do to protect your sorry butt. No more light workers, no more dark workers, because, you know, this constant crap, you know, the New Ager stuff about vibrating higher doesn't work. Because, as I did in a video, to get into the higher realms, your brain actually has to vibrate lower. Your brainwave patterns have to go slower and lower. I'm wanting to build a massive ethics journal. Because you're going to be going and experimenting, you might discover something that is questionable. And so you need to decide before you go into doing all this stuff of what is allowed, what is not allowed. I'm going back and forth because I just wrote all this stuff in my little notebook here. Because sigils can be unique, there is no one sigil to do a love sigil. There are hundreds, if not thousands, infinite ways to do this. And so a person could create new runes or an alphabet for their practice, because it's about visualization. And if you cannot connect to the Thabian alphabet or Klingon alphabet, whatever it is, you're going to have a harder time visualizing. And so then, if you could create your own alphabet, your own runes, and you can connect with them, you would have higher results. And so I am having to abandon some of the rules that I placed on myself a long time ago, and saying that you can create something new as long as you're consistent. Because once you create your set of runes, well, that's your set of runes. You can't go, oh, that worked for last week, I got to create a new set this week. You're going to be so busy building and building that you would never have a time to employ what you are creating. Next thing I decided upon is building gates. Everybody talks about entering the astral realm and all these different planes and such. But some people just can't do it. And I think it's because we have to learn to build our own gates, not rely on what some other person described as the gate to the astral plane. Create your own, drawing it out, visualizing it, visualizing yourself opening it. And I believe that we could possibly enter new realms. Some of the more interesting things I was thinking about was developing anti-magic. Now, anti-magic to block other people's spells. That could be also anti-magic as defenses, because there's just something in my mind that tells me there are too many people doing too much stuff, and we have to learn how to counter it to reduce the stupidity that people do. Another thing that I was going to do research is learning how to be a psychic vampire. Now, we always put so much negativity on being a psychic vampire, but why? This is an ability. You can drain somebody of their energy, and if that person was going to be doing some bad stuff, hey, you just prevented it. So, we have the people that want to do some spell work for some stupid reason, or they're not prepared and you're trying to protect them. my theory is that we can learn how to become a psychic vampire to prevent them from doing it. Again, this would then have to be bound by your ethics, because you don't want to do it to every person, but there might be times where it's the best thing to do. We're talking about spell actions. Well, I have been near a tornado. A few years ago, we had a tornado within a mile of the town that I live in. And I was doing a chant to try to move the tornado so that my hometown wasn't hit by it. So we have chants. So a spell action is, like I said, with the last avatar, where they're performing martial arts and trying to bend water, earth, air, whatever. Well, a chant to work with it. We do not have a lot of people with everyday spells, chants, incantations, so I was going to work on that as well. You see, basically I hit the point where I have to challenge everything, but I still have to show respect for all of the magical collections, works that so many people have created in the past and currently. Because even though most of these acts might be foolish to me, there could be little gems of knowledge that I can utilize. And so it is very important for me to show respect. And finally, tarot card magic. Now, we have a lot of people that use tarot cards for divination. Back in my role-playing days, there was a profession called the tarot mage. This is a person that develops spell cards. Each tarot card means a certain thing. So why couldn't you embed a spell into each and every card, so when a desire action is needed, we can pull out a certain card and implement it to get a desired result, such as the death card. Now, we're not talking of where we want to kill somebody, but the death card is talking about change. We want to bring an end to something, to start something new. If we could then implement a change spell and embed it in with the card, then when we need it, we could pull out the card. We have the chant. We can recite the chant and visualize it all within the card and send the card out and release the spell. I think that is something that is worth experimenting with. And I am going to buy a Rider-Waite deck to do that type of experimentation. So those are the things that I'm going to be working on now. This is all about starting a conversation. I want to hear what you have to say. Is some of the ideas I'm having foolish, or do you have some little tidbit that you can add to make everything better? So please let me know in the comments below, and everybody, please take care. Be at peace.